What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Operation M.I.S.T podcast. I'm one of your co hosts, Jessica Thompson.
And I am Catherine Sylvester, and we are so excited to have Keshia here with us today. Let me think. So, the one thing I want you all to know before we get started about Keshia is that she is brave. And then she really inspired us when she decided to come on to Operation M.I.S.T. And we are always excited when women choose to join us, but she was special because sometimes people count women out who are older and trying to get pregnant. And older is relative, right? So for us, as long as you have eggs, you can get pregnant. And so we don't think about it any differently than someone who's younger. All we think is that everybody's journey needs to be walked closely. And so we just enjoy it no matter the age. But when we get someone on who we can really have and then show other people that it's possible, it's amazing. So Lakeshia's bravery throughout her pregnancy, her decisions to just empower herself so that her worry didn't overtake her. So if there was any worry, she combated it with empowerment. And so we cannot wait for you to hear from her, fall in love with her like we have. So Lakeshia, we're gonna turn it over to you, girl. Tell the people about you.
Well, I am Lakeisha, and I am 43. I was 42 on my pregnancy journey. With the help of Miss Catherine and Jessica. I know I worried Jessica to death.
No, you didn't.
She probably was like, she calls me for everything. But I know you said that's why you were here, but you ladies really don't understand how meaningful and grateful and thankful I am for you, because when the doctors would tell me something, I would always come back and I question it. I would always come back to you guys, and you would kind of give me more information and give me peace about it. Because a lot of times when you go to the doctor and they tell you something, you're kind of like you have that worry in the back of your head, in your mind. But then when you speak to somebody else that you trust, like Jessica, I trusted her, and she would always come back with information, even though I was like, poor Jessica, she has to write these long paragraphs to me. I felt so bad. I was like, Lord. So she was, all the information she would give me, it would soothe my worry and my peace. And I am so grateful and thankful. And I tell any pregnant woman that I know, I am like a Miss Advocate, a
Yes.
walking billboard to tell people that you can do it and there is help out here for you. Because I always go back to my grandmother. She had my mother at 46. And
Mhm.
so I was like, you know what? I am not going to let them tell me that because I am 42. Because one of the doctors said to me, he was like, well, because I was having a little complication during my pregnancy, he said, well, because of your maternal age, this. And I was just like, is that polite, or is that what you say
Mhm.
to your patients? And so I was like, I'm glad he's not my regular doctor. It was because my doctor wasn't there.
Mhm.
And so one of the they called me. I made that comment on a survey. I said that on the survey for at the hospital. Well,
Mhm.
they called me. And so when they called me, I told them, how I felt. And so the excuse that the man gave me was that he didn't mean anything by it.
Mhm.
That's just who he is. I said, well, maybe he needs to change who he is, because some women are sensitive about things like that. And I said, I happen to not be sensitive about it, but you don't know how the next woman is going to react. So
Yeah.
that, for me, with the hospital kind of backing him, and he was an older guy, but
Mhm.
it doesn't mean anything. You have to have tact when you're dealing with whomever you're dealing with. Even though he wasn't my normal doctor, I was just like, oh, okay, well, I'm the old maid that can't have a baby, you know.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
I just think that you guys gave me the courage to speak up for myself, because before Miss I probably wouldn't have. But then with I don't know, I can go ahead and tell my story. So with my story, I was pregnant. I think I was 6 weeks, maybe a little farther along. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But anyway, I had a miscarriage. I started bleeding, and I went to the doctor. Well, I went to the ER,
Mhm.
and it was, I guess, I just everything happened in the bathroom at the ER.
Mm.
And so I was just devastated, and I was just like, I don't know what to do. And it was Mother's Day weekend, so that was kind of like, Lord, what
Mhm.
am I to learn through this journey?
Yeah.
Well, I'm praying, and we went through that or what have you. So my husband and I, we kind of talked about it. He was like, well, do you want to try again? I was like, well, yeah, I mean, I just don't want to give up. So we tried again. I got with, let me see, that was what Mother's Day is in May.
Mhm.
And so I found out I was pregnant in January. May of 2021, I miscarried. 2022 of January, I was pregnant again. So that means I got pregnant in December.
So with the first pregnancy, the first pregnancy that you mentioned, was that your first pregnancy?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yes,
I
it
just
was
want,
my first.
for listeners, they might be thinking like, okay. And
Yeah, that was
so,
my first.
okay, and so then in January you had your second pregnancy begin.
Right.
Okay.
I had a second one, and I had just found out. And so I was at home, and my cousin came by, and she was saying, and I was telling her, I was like, I just can't hold it in. I hadn't even told my husband yet. So my cousin came over, and I was like, girl, guess what? And she was like, what? And I was like, I'm pregnant. And she was like, are you serious? I was like, yes, look. So I was like, I've taken 3 tests. And she was like, 3? And I was like, yes, because I had to make sure. And I was like, well, I'm kind of nervous about it because my history or whatever. She was like, don't be nervous. I went through the same thing, and I didn't even know she had a miscarriage. She didn't tell me. She said, but you need to talk to one of my friends. I went to USM with her, and she has a program where they monitor you, and you wear this watch and blah blah. She just gave me the whole rundown about Miss,
Mhm.
and I was like, okay, that sounds really good. Um, what's her name? And she was like, oh, her name is Jessica. I'm gonna give her. I was like, well, give her my information and tell her to please call me.
That's so good.
So she was just like, okay. So that day, I had just made my doctor's appointment, and Jessica, you text me, I think, and you said I will call you and we will set up some things.
Mhm.
And from that day forward, Jessica has been my right hand.
I still remember that day.
I
Like,
do too. I remember like it was yesterday
yes. And
because
I'm
it was.
telling you, it was like talking to you, and because it was so early on, so I was so excited. And then
Mhm,
like you were honest with me and you told me your story and what you were worried about and what you like wanted to get out of the program.
mhm,
And I'm like, girl, we can do this together. You got this. Like it's gonna be fine. And I remember like just in your voice, it was I could tell you were excited, but it's almost like you wanted to like hold it in a little bit because you didn't know if it would happen. The same thing would happen
mhm,
the second time. Like it was just like a little bit of doubt in the
mhm.
midst of your excitement. And you were real serious about what it is that you wanted, and like, yeah, you had laid it out for me, and I'm like, okay, like you can do this. And like ever since that conversation, like every conversation that we have had after that, like you have been so much more empowered and just like confident and
Mhm.
just owning like your body.
Right.
And
And I could, attribute that to you guys just giving me, I think you gave me my voice,
mm,
because a lot of times when you go through something like that, you just um the physicians, you trust them to give you the correct information, but then there are sometimes they're like, I don't know if it's because of what we look like,
mhm,
they don't take us as serious as they would somebody else. And
mhm,
so you kind of like, look, sir, this is what's gonna happen, and this is what I'm telling you. So don't, and especially men. And I did not, for a long time, I didn't like to have a male doctor.
yeah,
But then I had a female, remember? And she she kind of was dismissive in something. And I was telling Jessica, and I was like, I just don't feel and she's like, well, if you don't, you don't like her, then change. And I was kind of, because sometimes we go with people because they look like us.
mhm,
And I was on that tip,
yeah,
but I didn't feel like you were pouring into me like you should have been.
mhm,
And so I said, you know what happened, how I end up changing. You remember I end up having to go because I was having some bleeding.
mhm,
And I said, Lord, you are so funny. God has to have a sense of humor, because
yes,
when I went to the doctor, I end up seeing my current doctor. Well, come to find out, he delivered my niece because her doctor was out.
oh wow,
I loved his bedside manner. He sat down with me. He explained a lot of things. He he was just very concerned. And, even though he was like, I go on to deliver, babies that from women who are way older than you. So,
mhm,
we're not going to make that an issue. And so
mhm,
I was just like, okay, and, he kind of perked me up.
yeah,
So then after that appointment, and I talked to you, and I just told you, how I felt about him.
mhm,
You said, well, if you feel like that, then change. So after I got off the phone with you, I called the doctor's office and switched. And
yeah,
so, because at first I was like, because I'm a very loyal person.
you definitely are.
And I was trying to be loyal, but I was like, you know what? Right now, loyalty is going out the window
Mhm,
because I'm concerned with getting my baby here.
yeah,
And so when I called the doctor's office, they was like, well, you want to switch over to Dr. McIntyre? I was like, yes, ma'am. And he has been so awesome the entire pregnancy.
mhm,
And even when I told you he wanted to induce, you were like, no. And I was like, well, Jessica, I told him it's my fault, because I told him, look, you have been on this journey with me for 9 months. There's no way that anybody else is going to deliver my baby. And
mhm.
so he was on call that weekend, and he put me on his schedule. So that's why we went. And so
You
I was
see?
like, because at first I was like, oh, even my mom was like, you're not going to all the way to September. I was like, Mama, yes, I am. And they was like, no, you don't see how your stomach is dropping now. And I was like, oh, no, because I was at work just doing,
Mm.
you know.
You were getting it. But I'm glad you brought that up about the inductions because we just research says, and it's just better for mom and baby
Mhm,
to go, and spontaneous labor is the best. But the difference in your story is that you made that decision, and ultimately this is your body, and you had all the education and information, and you decided for yourself that
mhm,
it was more important for you to deliver with that provider And so you did, and you had a healthy delivery, and it was ultimately your decision. I don't like it when a doctor will call you and try to flip it onto their schedule, right? Like it's more about them than it is about you, but ultimately you made that decision yourself, and I'm okay with that because it was.
And I was
Okay.
worried.
I gotta jump in because I know. And the funny thing, so one thing, because I know, Lakeisha, you're gonna talk about this. Sometimes people feel like, I don't want my Miss Monitor to be disappointed in me. And it's never that. It is never that. And whatever decision you make, we drop to our knees and start praying. And whatever that, regardless, God is going to bless your decision. God is going to honor your commitment to your child, getting here, your commitment to yourself. And so Jessica, I can just say, Jessica along the way has felt nothing for you but admiration. She, even just the other day, we were texting about you, and she was like, she's so powerful. Like the power in her voice, the confidence in her voice. She's just a completely different person. You were beautiful before, but a woman who is beautiful and confident is like, you just can't be stopped, right? But
When
I
I
want to
tell
pull out
you,
some things from your story so that people understand. One of the things that we do with Operation M.I.S.T is we try to get moms to connect with other moms who have done what they want to do. So sometimes a woman will say, I want to have a home birth, but all she's talking to is women who have had hospital births. Or she wants to have a hospital birth and she's talking to everybody who's done it naturally. When really the best person to learn from is the person who has already done it and done it the way you would like to. So you mentioned that your mom was 46 when
my grandmother.
Your grandmother was 46 when she had a baby. And so that's a leg up for you. There are some women who don't know other women who have done what they've done, but finding someone, if you're listening to this podcast, find someone who's done what you want to do. It'll make a huge difference. And then the other part of it is the doctor has done it. Doctors who have not delivered older babies, I will say, will be more nervous about delivering a baby from a woman who is considered older than someone who has never done it before. A doctor who has delivered a baby who is breech will be more confident than doing it, than someone else who's never done it before. So you put yourself in a situation where your doctor didn't doubt your ability to do it because he's seen it done before. He's done it before. And so you had the right environment because you chose the right environment. And then the bleeding, this is something that's important because when we were talking about your bleeding, I believe it was in the first trimester, and you were a little bit nervous about it. And the thing about it is bleeding in the first trimester is not in and of itself abnormal. But what we like people to know is if someone has had a complication in the past or has had something happen in the past, they should never feel ashamed about going to get their symptoms investigated. We don't care if it's normal. You have a healthcare provider who is supposed to deal not only with your symptoms, but with your peace of mind. And so women need to have the confidence to go and have those things checked out. Even if it's not something that is a priority to their provider, you deserve to have that peace of mind, Lakeisha. So we are so happy. I know you would take off of work to go do things for your baby. Like before your baby was born, you decided she's going to be the priority. And that's what we have to do. We cannot save up all of our leave days because we're afraid we won't have any after we deliver. If the baby doesn't make it here, if we do not make it through, we are doing ourselves and our babies a disservice. So good for you for making these decisions along the way, because it's not easy to take off of work and to be there and to investigate every symptom and to make purchases. I mean, you purchased a couple things to make this journey a little bit easier for you, but it was worth it, right?
Yeah, it was. And I want to say this to people who are listening. Not only am I 42, but I do have fibroids. And, that's another thing that they put against women of color. And I'm a living testimony that you can deliver a healthy baby with fibroids. My doctor, I asked him because I was concerned about him, and I said, well, what are we going to do? He's like, well, right now, since you're pregnant, we can't do anything. So let's wait to see if they shrink after pregnancy. But with Jessica again. We both were doing some research, and I learned that they feed off sugar. So that was a thing that I just, sugar was not a part of my diet very much. It was more, if it was like fruit or something, natural sugar. So
Mhm.
um I recommend that you do your own research. Don't just take the word of whatever your physician is telling you. I know people laugh and say Google, don't Google things, but how else will you know what's right and what's wrong unless you read it for yourself? So take the time to do your own research, because just letting somebody tell you what to do with your body, it takes away your power, how
Mhm.
you feel, and you want to feel like I did what was best for me in the
Okay.
end. You don't want to have any regrets about anything with bringing life into this world. And
Mhm.
I look at my baby all the time, and I thank God for her constantly. And I tell her, and I think I said to her the other day, I talked to her like she's a little mini me or something. And I was like, you are gonna get so sick of me telling you how much I love you, how much I appreciate you, and I thank God for you. Is because I know what it took to get her here, and it was a lot. And but I wouldn't change anything, for it, because um I just wouldn't, it was a journey, but we made it through. And I laughed because I was watching something on television. I was like, I kind of miss being pregnant.
So people say that. It's like once you get accustomed to it, it's like, oh, okay, here's the babies.
And then I was like, and then I laughed because she does make these movements. I was like, oh, that's what you were doing in there, huh? You know, so it's like you miss that part, that bonding part with them while they're in your womb. But then when you physically able to touch them, it's like it's miraculous. It's like a if you don't believe in God or believe in something, you're going to once you feel that baby. And I look at the video from because y'all, when I tell you we had a whole church service in delivery room, the nurse was even singing. We were playing Maverick City. She was down there um singing, and I was like, Lord, we got the whole nurse station praising the Lord in
You
here.
better set the tone, set the environment, like Catherine
And
said.
that's
Yeah.
what she said. She was like, I love deliveries like this. And I was just like, oh. And I said, I just told them, I said, I need some calming music, and I need and I wanted to be just play. I had already had my playlist, and I was like, just put the Maverick City playlist on. Because when I started having contractions, I was like, I didn't know what this was, because, of course, this is new to me. I've never done this.
Hello.
And so I was like, oh my gosh. And so I was telling my mom, she was like, they're 3 minutes apart. And so everybody was looking like, are you okay? And so the nurse was like, well, you're dilating. And do you want to, the anesthesiologist is on the floor. Do you want to go ahead on and get your epidural? And I said, well, if I wait, she said, it may be too late. I don't know. So I was like, Lord, what do I do? I don't know if I can handle this pain like this. So I just went on. I said, just tell them to come on.
Okay, okay, okay.
Wait. So back up just to what you were gonna say before. So you decided that you were going to induce. Can you tell us what that looks like? And finish your thought from earlier if you haven't.
I have. So when we went in, I went in like at 7 that morning. No, 5. I went
So
in
you
at
knew that day. You knew that was the day you were going to induce. Like he
Mhm.
told you a date, and
He
so you
gave
showed
me a date. He
okay.
gave me a specific day. He said, so I went in that Monday for my doctor's visit, and he said, "Okay, well, we'll have a baby on Saturday." So I was like this Saturday? He was like, "Yeah, the 27th. I put you on my rotation." So I was like, "Okay." So you go into the hospital, you check in or what have you, and they hook you up to all the monitors. They give you like some pitocin. Then I think they broke. I can't remember if they broke my water because I was so out of it. It really didn't. It wasn't. It didn't hurt or anything. Um, I did. I did feel contractions before I got the epidural,
Mhm.
but they were 3 minutes apart, and I was dilating faster than they expected. So, like you said, Jessica, my body was doing what it was supposed to be doing. And I would Jessica would post things on IG and I would go Instagram, I'm sorry, I'm trying to so I would, some people don't know what IG
That's
is.
right.
So I would go, "Hey, I I need to do some pelvic floor exercises and this and she's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "'Cause you posted it." And so I'm thinking like in my mind, everything that she's posting, I'm like, "I didn't do this. I didn't do that." And she's like, "Well, you're not having issues with X, Y, and Z, so it's not a big deal for you." So when I went into labor, um, I was trying to, the breathing or whatever, and I was like, "Okay,
We
just."
had a little video chat
We
before.
did. We did, and I remember the what you told me about breathing,
Mhm.
and I every 3 minutes they were coming, and I was doing, and my mama kept looking at me, and she was like, "Are you all right?" I was like, just give me my time. And so finally, I ended up once the anesthesiologist gave me the epidural. Yeah, you know how you read all these stories about the epidural. It's not as bad as everybody makes it out to be. However, I was like, the doctor said, "Oh my God, I've never had anybody to be this still during the epidural. You know, I'm done." I was like, "You are?" He said, "You didn't even flinch." I said, "Look, I have read horror stories. I was gonna walk up out of here. I'm not going, I am not, you're not gonna push me in a wheelchair. I'm walking out of here. So I don't need you to do anything wrong. So I'm not gonna do anything
I
wrong."
know that's right.
So he was like, "You are funny." I was like, "No, sir, I am very serious right now. I take this very serious. This is
Yeah.
not time for us to play." So
Mm-mm.
he was just like, "I just love it." So he gave me the epidural, and then I didn't feel anything after that. When I tell you from my waist down, I was numb, that my they had to hold my left leg in the stirrups because it was so numb. They kept saying, "Scoot down." And I thought I was moving, but I wasn't because I was so numb, and I was like, "I don't like this feeling," but you can't determine how much they give you or what have you.
Yeah.
So I didn't they kept telling me to push, 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 whatever. And I was listening to what, and Miss Jessica, my fear came true. I mean, and when I tell y'all know I'm really candid about my story. So yes, ladies, sometimes you will poop during delivery, and I did. And so the nurse told me, and I told her, I said, "I am so sorry." She was like, "No, we're okay with you doing that. That means you're pushing correctly." And
Mhm.
so for her to tell me that, it reassured me that I was doing what was okay. Because what we feel embarrassed by is it's really normal. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So that made me feel, when she told me that, that made me feel better because I'm like, that's disgusting. Who wants to see that? But then, they were like, well, she just moved everything out the way and just kept going with that baby. It
Mhm.
wasn't, they see that all the time. And for,
Exactly.
when you're the person that's doing it, you're kind of like, whoa.
Yeah.
But but then for them to be as calm as they were, it gave you the reassurance that you were doing everything correctly. But then I didn't feel anything because he kept saying, I heard the nurse say, we got to go get him because the doctor wasn't in there. He said, by the time I come back, you'll be ready. And he checked me and he said, you're 10 centimeters. And he said, I'll be back. Well, he didn't make it back. The nurse said, we got to go get him. The baby is she's crowning. So I was like, she's coming? She was like, yeah. I didn't feel anything until her head popped out. I felt that. And I was just like, that was her head. And he said, it sure was.
Mhm.
So next thing I knew, I had a whole baby and
Oh, baby.
a whole baby. And I was just, he was like, here's your baby. And y'all, when I tell you that skin to skin it is important. And it just, I don't know, that hour that we spent together bonding was, I don't know. It's unexplainable. You
Mm.
can't explain that. And I always used to say, when I have a baby, I want them to clean her up and I don't want them to put that baby on me. And I was like, oh, now we had blood and gunk and everything all over us. And I was just like, I was in tears. My sister recorded it.
Mm.
So I go back and I watch it. And I'm just like, this is a straight up miracle.
Yeah.
And my grandmother was in there and she was like, girl, you were working that thing. And I was like, was I? She was like, you pushed that baby out of you, girl. And I was like, Mama, because at first I didn't feel like I was pushing right. But
Mhm.
then the nurse said, no, this is what I want you to do. You
Mm.
push and then you hold for whatever. And
Mhm.
for 10, she's counting for 10. And that helped a lot. And plus what you had, how you had given me the instructions.
Mhm.
And so when they gave me what to do, it made it a lot easier when
Yeah.
you had a team that was kind of like everybody was doing the same thing, working, for the same cause.
Yeah.
Mm, And everybody was for me and what I wanted. My voice was heard. And just like when I didn't know that our hospital didn't have a nursery anymore. So they took it away. So I sent everybody home that night thinking that we had a nursery. Well, my nurses were so loving that they said, we'll take her at the nurses station because we do this all the time. We love to love on babies, so we'll take her. So me being the first time mama, I was like, I'll set my alarm and I'll come get her at 6 o'clock. Y'all, I'm so ashamed because the lady was like, you really did set the alarm. And I said, oh, yeah. And okay, back up, after I delivered, I sent everybody home. My goddaughter came because she wanted to see the baby. And, they take them to do some tests. And they told me they were going to come get her at 2 o'clock. Well, I was sleeping. She was sleeping. They came and got her. I went back to sleep. Well, I was so, I had taken some pain medicine.
Mhm.
I don't remember very much, but they said I woke up. They brought her back. She went around 2. They brought her back around 2:30. I woke up around 4:30 and I said, hey, did they bring my baby back?
I I don't blame you at all. Where is my baby?
Because I never woke up. I didn't hear her crying. She was sleeping. And she said, they brought the baby back like 2 hours ago. And I said, okay. And I lay back down and went to sleep. And I just, in my mind, because everybody has, you know how you see all these people kidnapping babies, and I was like, well, she can't get without the brace. I was like, girl, television, these stories that are on television, they are real. They not making this stuff up, you know. So I needed to, you know, see her.
Mm-hmm.
So once I saw her, we were fine, but the nurses were so nice that they kept her for a few hours, even though I set my alarm. She was like, are you sure you do? I was like, bring her on in here. We okay. I done had a little nap. You can bring her back.
I love it. I love it. I love the fact that everybody there was there to support you. And for you to say everybody was like team you, like we just had we interviewed somebody like last week, and their like first experience was not like that. Like just didn't feel like people were on her team. So for you to just have providers there at the hospital that were really on your team and to step in, even in the lack of having a nursery, they were willing to hold your baby at the nursing station so you can sleep. That's good care. That is good patient care.
It was, because I was like, all my family is gone home. I told them to go sleep. Because my sister was like, send that baby to the nursery, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, I'm going to send her to the nursery, even though I didn't really want to. But then when she told me it was no nurses, they did away with the nursery, I was like, I just started crying. And she said, Mama, is it postpartum? What is it? I said, I just want to sleep. Because I didn't realize how tired I really was. Labor was very tiring.
How many hours was it?
Let me see. I went into labor around 7. She was here at 12:55.
Okay.
So it wasn't that long.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just the fact that it was, you know, once you get the epidural, you try to sleep, but they're in and out of the room and, you know, just checking you and what have you. And you're just like, okay, and it's funny because my grandmother said she'll be here by 1 o'clock. And I was like, you think so? She was like, yep. And then we laughed because she came at 12:55.
Oh, you got a smart grandmother.
I said, Ma, you are on it. But Miss Genesis is a blessing to everybody. And how I know, I said God gave me the correct nurses because Genesis' middle name is Elise. Her nurse name was Elise.
Everything is intentional. Everything is intentional. And you invited the spirit in.
I did. I did.
It's like the power of a peace of mind. You know, when people talk about sometimes they're choosing providers that look like them, it really is that sometimes it's just some sense of familiarity that lets you just calm down. And so for you obviously you had your provider, you had your family, but then you had that nurse who it just was just God ordained. Obviously, God ordained. I wanted to ask you something. No, I forgot. Okay, will you tell us about your postpartum journey thus far? Because I love how you talked about just being tired. We noticed that, don't we, Jessica? When we're watching the dashboard and women deliver, they get less sleep. Now, the sleep that they get is really good quality, but unless they have someone there to help them watch the baby, their body has such a hard time recovering. And so it is really good that we learn how to let other people help us, because I'm like you, Lakeisha, if there's a nursery, my baby ain't going. If you want to help, you can sit in the room and watch her or him. But I was very much like, I just want to be with my baby. And it's not even, sometimes people say, you know, it's a strong Black woman syndrome and stuff like that. It's not that. It is so hard to want to give over who has been your best friend for 9 months, right? And so if people look at it like that, you talk to Genesis every day for 9 months. You pray for her. So you just don't want to give her over, but that fatigue is real. And so we have to really encourage women. And I feel like, Jessica, the first couple of days after delivery, that's what we're reaching out about a lot of the times. Make sure you get some rest, because we know at the hospital you don't. Even though they want to create a good environment, they also want to keep a safe one. So they're checking you, checking the baby. And so you can't really control that necessarily while you're in the hospital. But when you go home, you have to let people help you. And that does not mean that you have to give your baby over all the time, but while the baby sleeps, you sleep. I really do understand that now. And if someone can help you clean and cook and just do things around the house so that all you're doing is resting, going to the bathroom and spending time with your baby, that's the best thing that they can do to help you. Because otherwise we don't watch it. We keep bothering you until you until you learn to let somebody help you, right? So that's our philosophy, because we never want anything to go wrong on our watch, you know. So please talk to the people about your postpartum.
Postpartum was kind of hard at first, because Jessica can tell you, because she said, "Hey, your quality of sleep, you're not sleeping." And I was like, well, I had a constipated baby one night and we were up, and that was not fun. And then probably the next night, I was just up watching her, and I called, because people come in and out, but you're kind of like staying up, you're not really sleeping. So finally, it was like, it had gotten to the point where my eyes were just crossed. I just couldn't. And so I just said, "Mama, please just come and watch her while I sleep." And that was during the time when I kept jumping up saying, "Do you want me to get her?" And she was like, "Just sleep." But in my mind, I know you're there to help me, but you feel like, okay, this is my baby. This is the only person that knows what my heartbeat sounds like from the inside. So with that being said, I have to be that person's protector, be her everything, And so it's hard to really rest. But when you do, I fell asleep and I did not realize how tired I was, because I heard nothing. People were in and out of the house. They were coming in the bedroom to check on me. I heard nothing. And I was just like, "Oh, they were here?" They was like, "Yeah, you didn't hear them come in the room?" I said, "Mm-mm." I mean, I was out. And so just to get that rest, it's like none other. It's like you don't realize how much you need it until you get it. Because I think once you become a mother, your body goes into survival mode, where you feel like you are a machine and you could just go, go, go. But then your body says you are not a machine.
Catherine.
You got dying over here, right? Because she's so right.
And you are just like, your dial is just going down and down, and you're just still trying. And my watch, I'm like, okay, I know. And then I'm thinking like, oh my God, Jessica's gonna be like, "What are you doing?" And then sometimes I just be like, "I'm taking my watch off."
See, look at that. See, because the watch is that, because like she said, you're feeling like you're draining, and the watch is going to show you.
Yeah.
Are.
And so I was like, because she is going to be like, "If you don't get some rest." And so, because I would charge it while I would shower, and then I would forget to put it back on. And then because you said, "For the last 2 days you hadn't," and I was like, "It's been in the bathroom on the charger." And then once I would get in the bed, I'm like, "I'm not getting up to get that watch." It's very important to get that rest, and allow people. I'm the type that I don't like to ask for help. I'm I guess, independent, and I feel like I could go do or what have you. Nobody wanted me to carry the baby's carrier. I couldn't carry her book bag. I was just like, y'all, I just had a baby. I'm not an invalid. Come on now, help me out. And they're like, no, the doctor said not over 10 pounds. But you don't realize how they're really helping you. But at the same time, you feel like it's a takeover
Mhm.
because but what I was trying to get them to understand that y'all are not gonna be here in a few weeks. I gotta figure this out, you know? And so in my mind, I was in figure out mode.
Yeah.
But to them, it's like, let me help you. You know what I mean? So
Lakeisha, let's talk about that real quick, because the mindset that they're not going to be with you then is right. But the fact that they are with you now, you need to take advantage of it, okay? And the reason, right, because Jessica and I, we go into people's homes, even a couple of days after they deliver their babies, to teach them how to do the things that they need to do to protect themselves long term. Because let's say that you are carrying very heavy things. At this point, your vagina has taken on a lot of trauma. So
mhm,
you would never see someone walk out of a car accident and say, "Oh, carry your bags yourself." Right?
right,
You would want them to let somebody help them.
right,
Well, even though you cannot equate having being in a car accident to having a baby, if you think of it that way, then it is similar, because your body is used to having an intact core system to depend on for doing things like lifting. So if we just start there, but now you've had a baby, so the front part of your core is compromised. You
mhm,
have tightness in the back. Your diaphragm has been displaced at the top because of your pregnancy. And now your pelvic floor muscles are weak. So you're walking around like your core is broken, but trying to still do the same things you would have done, because now you think, oh, I don't have a baby anymore. So my body is under less stress, right?
mhm,
Logically, that makes sense. But the reality is that our bodies take months to heal. And so if all the help we can get on the front end will ultimately help us on the back end to not 20 years down the line leak, or 5 months down the line have heart failure. So as we're listening and talking, it really is important that women know we are not invalids. We are powerful beyond anything we could ever imagine. But it takes a strong person sometimes to say, I'll accept the help, even
right,
when you don't think you need
mhm.
it, right?
And I'll say this, another one of the postpartum things is that how I knew I needed to just sit down. I um I wanted some fried chicken. You know, during my pregnancy, I could not eat anything fried. Well, I got it. Bad idea.
What
Very
happened?
bad idea. So it came back up,
Mm.
and you know that your pelvic area is so y'all, I was having it this way and that way. Like I was like urinating and I was just like, I started crying. I was like, Mama, oh my goodness. She was like, you knew not to eat that, but you wanted that fried chicken, honey. And I was like, why?
And that's that, um, when you vomit, it increases your abdominal pressure like a lot. And like Catherine
Mhm.
was saying, the diaphragm is displaced, the pelvic floor is a little bit weaker, a little bit more stressed out. So all of that pressure, if it can't maintain it, what's in your bladder, it's gonna come out.
Because I was trying to stop it. It just
Yes.
I was just like, you know what, just get a shower. Just take a shower. Just forget it.
It
Okay.
happens. It happens. That's a thing. Yeah.
It absolutely
And I
does.
didn't, you know, being this was my first experience. And see, these are things that nobody talks about.
Mhm.
People make pregnancy feel like it's just this happy-go-lucky. They don't talk about the things, the hard stuff. Nobody is telling you about the hard things that come with pregnancy. Um, I didn't have I didn't have swelling until like the end, and it really wasn't a lot. It was because I was still working and just moving a lot. And y'all, even now, like moving, my baby does not like to be still. She likes motion. Even when we're in the car, when she's sleeping, she likes to rock. And I think
You
about
won't.
when she was in the womb, I used to rock back and forth all the time and rub my belly, and I would sing, and that's how she goes to sleep now. And I laugh, and I was like, I've created a monster.
Gotta keep it up. You started something, you gotta keep it going. And you walked a lot. Like Lakeisha on her breaks at work, she's up and down the highway.
I
Up and down the
was.
highway. She's make sure she got her steps in. And like you mentioned earlier, and I wanted to highlight this too, like your diet. Like Lakeisha drank her water. She ate her fruits and vegetables. We worked on vegetables, but she got the fruits in for sure.
I
But
did.
and vegetables too, And I mean, it's like she said, she didn't eat fried foods. I mean, so she really prepared her body for delivery, like the
And it's
whole
funny because I only gained like 12 pounds. Oh, y'all, I hear the little lady. Hold on 1 second. I'll be right back.
It's all right. Just I love that you brought that up, because if you're going to do it at 42, this is how you do it, And when she talked about ignoring her watch, she doesn't know I'm just the same. If I had this watch on right after delivery, I'd have been doing the same thing. Let me just take it off. I don't want nobody telling me because my body battery low. I can't.
like I know,
right? But that's why women need it postpartum. We need something to remind us that we need to listen to what our bodies are telling us.
And that's a hard thing to do, especially when you feel like, oh, I have a list of things to do. And when you're pregnant, you're like, my last day. I had her Saturday. I went to work that Friday, and everybody was like, why are you here?
Lakeisha, but what we were talking about when you walked away, though, is what you did during pregnancy is what we all should be doing. Sometimes if our pregnancy is high risk, or we are older, or somebody worries us, or we had a complication in the past, then we say, okay, I'm going to walk, I'm going to eat right, but it's no, everybody should go into pregnancy like that. Because the fact of the matter is, when we don't eat healthy, the stress is higher in our bodies, and the body is having to work harder. But now putting a pregnancy on top of a poor diet, it makes for even worse outcomes sometimes. So I'm so happy y'all brought that up, because sometimes working to the end of the pregnancy is not a problem. We have someone now who it is a problem. And so we can see that on the days when she doesn't work, her stress is a lot lower. And we never want stress to make someone go into labor prematurely. So there are times when you should, and there are times when you're just fine. And so I think the great equalizer, though, is having your own data to compare yourself to. Because if someone says, you know what, everyone should work up until the day they deliver, everyone shouldn't. If they say everyone should not work at all during their pregnancy, that's not the case either, because some people don't work and then they sit the whole pregnancy.
Yeah.
And so their heart rate never gets up until it's game time. And you do not want to be that person who goes to run the marathon from the couch, but you didn't actually do the work from the couch to the marathon, right? And so everyone's different. And if we just treat everyone as individuals, then other people's input, because people gave me a lot of input when I was pregnant. You're right, Lakeisha, that's what they do. They know best, when in reality, you had a team who decided to get to know you so that you, as the expert of your body, could make informed decisions based off of your own baselines and your deviations from that baseline, as opposed to there being a standard or a protocol put in place to micromanage the way you did your pregnancy. So good for you for not only creating a team, but seriously for the discipline that it takes to not eat fried foods, to walk on lunch break, right?
That's the word, discipline. You were disciplined from the beginning. Like, you had a goal in mind and you were willing to put in the work. You were not looking for just people to add on your team to do things for you. Like everything, the reason why you're holding your sweet baby right now is because you had the right mindset like the whole time. I'm serious. And Catherine, you made a good point about like people's input and stuff, because I felt like you were good with like obtaining knowledge and then making those informed decisions yourself. Because you had coworkers that didn't want you to do anything
I
and didn't
did.
want you to walk, but they didn't know like your health data was fine. It was actually improving because you started walking, and you would
Mm-hmm.
go to conferences and they had all that bad food, and you'd be like, "Look, Jessica, I only able to eat X, Y, and Z because I didn't want to eat all those donuts." And I mean, you were so disciplined.
Yeah.
And wear time, y'all, with her watch. Like, I lost my watch this week, but I'm gonna find it. But sorry, Catherine. But Lakeisha, she wore that watch every day, didn't it? I mean, and she synced it. Like I was able to watch her every day. So the information that she was getting was so accurate because she never took it off. And
Mhm.
I mean, that's like kudos to you, seriously, because there are people who, do this program and it takes them a while to get that discipline that Catherine was talking about. But you had it starting off. And I think that's why your story was so successful.
Mhm.
So, woo.
I'm telling you, I had a good team back behind me, and I wish I could have cloned y'all and been in Mississippi with me.
Yeah, I would have loved to,
Because
girl.
that would have been perfect. Because I was just like, even though, like I was telling you, Catherine, that I just feel like y'all are family now. Because this was the product, the end result of what we were trying to get to.
Yeah.
And this is what she wants to be all the time. I told the doctor, I said, y'all say an hour of contact. Look here, I can't get rid of her.
Such a blessing. But and
Yeah.
two, you mentioned that skin to skin. And we would have been in Mississippi if you had invited, wouldn't we, Jessica? We'd have hopped on that road. We'd have been there. But what's
Oh.
cool is that regardless of where moms are, we get to be with them. And
Mhm.
regardless of you will always be family, like you said. And so we look forward to pictures as Genesis continues to grow and your family and the videos you were talking about with her scooting. That is what we live for. In every story, every podcast conversation, every text message, every morning that we wake up and we get to see you guys on the dashboard, you ladies on the dashboard. We don't take that for granted and we don't take it lightly. So when you say things like that, it means more to us than you ever know, because all we want is that every mom feels empowered, she feels safe, she
Mhm.
feels like she has someone on her team
Yes.
that is team, in your case, Lakeisha. And
Yes.
so not everybody has that village like what you were talking about.
Yes.
And not everyone gets to have skin to skin like you had. Not everyone gets the doctor that they want to deliver their baby. But what they know is that there are people who love them and will support them no matter what. That's what we want with Operation M.I.S.T. So thank you for saying that.
You guys were, I wish that they had that everybody was able to experience a Catherine and a Jessica.
Oh, thank
Because not only people who have, go through what I've been through, but just pregnancy is hard. And so everybody needs that team of not just family. You need someone outside of family
you.
that that that's knowledgeable of what's going on of day to day things that come with pregnancy, other than your doctor, because I got two. There was like when I was experienced bleeding, I went to the ER. The ER doctor told me one thing, my regular doctor said something different. So I was just like, and so that's when I did reach out to Jessica, and she said, Lakeisha, sometimes you experience bleeding, blah blah blah. That was what calmed me. Jessica words calmed me because I had two different people telling me something. And they, Jessica went to school as well. She's a doctor, but her what she said trumped everything they said. Because and I was like, well, is it because she's saying what I need to hear or what I want to hear? And I was like, well, yeah, because a lot of times you when people speak things, it may manifest in your spirit, and you don't want that. So, Jessica, you allow me to manifest more positive things than those negative things that when you leave the doctor, you feel. So that's another thing that I think Operation M.I.S.T does for women is not only are you monitoring um, your vitals or what have you, but you're giving women hope and positive manifestations of what is to come. So you ladies keep being great and keep doing that, because I'm telling you, I'm y'all's biggest cheerleader.
Thank you.
And because if had it not been for you all, I would still have those negative things of, okay, well, this doctor told me this one told me that one, told me this. But again, I talked to Jessica and she said, and so what they said kind of it was there in the back of my mind, but what you said was more powerful to me and it stuck. And so therefore, I I hung on to what your every word. You see what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, just keep giving women positive affirmations about what's going on. I mean, you tell us the truth, but you also give us um, hope to hang on to instead of just scientific information. And that's a lot of times that's all people need, is that little bit of hope that I'm going to make it through the next chapter of whatever it is I'm going through.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Those words meant so much to me.
Oh,
So
but it's
I'm
true.
not gonna cry this time. But I really appreciate you and your journey, and allowing us to be a part of your journey. It just meant so much. And people may have like clicked this episode and thought that they were gonna hear like a whole bunch of like negative things, but this episode has been so light and so uplifting, and your story is so positive, like you said. And we're just happy to be a part of it and to share with other folks and to inspire other folks and give them hope, like you said.
Yes. I hope that if there are women who are doubting their journey as far as being older,
Mhm.
um hold on to Operation Miss, because they will help you get to where with God and whatever higher power you believe in, um, you will you'll get to where you want to be, not just with what your doctors, because science fails all the time, but God never fails. So
Amen.
No,
that's
never
that's
fails.
that's where I'm gonna leave it
I
at.
love that.
I thought y'all were gonna get to meet Miss Genesis, but she's gone back to, well, yeah, she's back to sleep, but
Okay, we like meeting sleeping babies. That's what I tell people. Don't wake your baby up because I'm here. So,
she won't let go of that pacifier, honey. She is not, but this is our Miss Baby.
Yes.
Yes, and you gotta be
yeah,
looking for something in the mail from me. So
Oh,
yes.
thank you. We love you so much.
We love you guys, and we thank y'all for everything.
you're welcome. More than welcome.